She lit up the room, and the screen. A small-town girl with a million-watt smile and the drive to match. Her name was Judy Huisentruit. Born in Long Prairie, Minnesota, Judy was a force of nature from the start, athletic, ambitious, and always reaching for more. In high school, she was a standout on the golf team, a member of the speech squad, and the kind of person who could talk to anyone. Not just talk, connect. Her charisma wasn't forced. It was natural. Effortless. After graduating from St. Cloud State University with a degree in mass communications, Judy began the slow climb through the Midwest's TV markets, bouncing from Cedar Rapids to Alexandria, learning, growing, getting sharper, and more polished with each job. Then, finally, in 1993, she landed a morning anchor job at KMT-TV, the CBS affiliate in Mason City, Iowa. It wasn't a big market. But for Judy, it was a stepping stone. She wasn't just reading the news, she was becoming part of people's lives. Early risers woke up to her warm voice. Farmers, truckers, and small-town families tuned in not just for the headlines, but for Judy. Her presence was magnetic. Whether she was interviewing a local bake sale organizer or covering a murder trial, she brought the same energy, crisp, professional, and compassionate. She had a rare gift, to make people feel seen. Her colleagues described her as upbeat, focused, always pushing to improve. She kept sticky notes at her desk filled with goals. Network news. Move to a bigger market. National correspondent. But for now, she was in Mason City, doing the job she loved and making plans for what came next. She had just turned 27. On the outside, things looked perfect. A great job. Loyal viewers. A beloved spot in the community. But behind the camera, Judy had begun to notice something strange. Something, or someone, that didn't quite feel right. A car that seemed to follow her. A man lingering outside the station. Anonymous phone calls. Judy brushed it off at first, chalking it up to the hazards of being in the public eye. But she did mention it to friends. She even joked about it during a self-defense seminar she'd recently attended. The warning signs were there. But no one knew they were about to become part of something much bigger. Her days were long. Her alarm clock went off before most people even dreamed of waking up. On June 26, 1995, Judy wrapped up a typical Monday, morning anchor duties, meetings, a round of golf with friends, and home by nightfall. What happened after she got home remains one of Iowa's greatest mysteries. The next morning, June 27, everything changed. At 4 a.m., Judy's producer, Amy Kunz, noticed something odd. No sign of Judy. That wasn't like her. Judy was always on time, always early, always prepared. Calls went unanswered. By 7 a.m., panic began to set in. When police arrived at her apartment complex, they found her red Mazda Miata still in the parking lot. Inside, her purse. Her keys, bent. Her shoes. Her hairdryer, something she always brought with her to the station. It looked like she had been just steps away from getting in the car. And then, something stopped her. There were drag marks near the car. A scuff in the dirt. Signs of a struggle. But no screams. No witnesses. No cameras. No signs of forced entry into her apartment. It was as if she had vanished into the morning mist. Back at the station, her coworkers were in disbelief. One moment, she was supposed to be at the anchor desk. The next, she was missing without a trace. It didn't make sense. Who would want to hurt Judy Huisentruit? And why? The town of Mason City, population just under 30,000, was shaken to its core. This wasn't the kind of place where people disappeared. Especially not someone like Judy. In the days that followed, Posters with her photo flooded street corners and shop windows. Her bright smile, now part of a missing persons report. Her voice, silenced. The FBI was called in. Volunteers combed the woods. Local businesses offered rewards. Reporters descended on Mason City. KMT-TV went from reporting the news to becoming the story. Friends held candlelight vigils. Family members issued pleas. But despite national attention, no solid leads emerged. No suspects were named. No arrests were made. Jody's apartment remained untouched, preserved for clues. Her car was processed for evidence. But without a body, without a witness, and without clear motive, investigators were stuck. And while the cameras eventually moved on, one question echoed across the Midwest. How does a woman vanish, without anyone seeing a thing? To this day, the answer is still unclear. But one thing is certain. Judy Huisentruit was more than a headline. More than a cold case. She was a daughter. A friend. A dreamer. And somewhere out there, someone knows what happened. Just when investigators thought they'd hit another dead end, something surfaced. A document. Misfiled for decades. Buried in a box marked miscellaneous. And what it contains may finally connect the dots. But before they could act, someone else did. A name leaked. A house burned. And with it, a critical piece of evidence, gone forever. The document wasn't just paper. It was a puzzle piece, long forgotten, nearly discarded. It came from deep inside the archives of an FBI field office in Des Moines. The memo was marked confidential and dated October 1998. It had been filed during a chaotic time, a departmental restructuring when dozens of cases were being shuffled, reassigned, boxed, and buried. Sources close to the reinvestigation say the file referenced a man never formally questioned during the original inquiry. A former city employee with overlapping ties to both Judy Huisentruit and her friend John Vances. The document didn't name him outright. But it did refer to a Subject X. Someone with knowledge of Jody's routines. Someone who may have had a grievance, not personal, but professional. The memo reads, potential motive identified, retribution related to news coverage. Subject familiar with victim's schedule and movements. The implications were staggering. And when the document finally came to light in early 2024, more than 2 decades later, it raised one haunting question. Was the wrong man in the spotlight all along? If you believe someone still knows the truth, share this story. Subscribe for part 2, because someone's silence is finally starting to crack. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. The truth is closer than ever. Leave a comment, it might help the investigators.